Oh my gosh. That is all of the cinnamon and the sweetness without that artificial sweetener taste that I
Yeah.
hate.
Barrel Amburana, I don't know how to say it. Barrel.
Those are both two good attempts,
I,
honestly,
I
considering your
appreciate
past history with pronunciation and difficulties there. So well done.
it. Thank you, thank you. So if you've been around the whiskey community, I would say this year. I think it's a 2023 thing, and I don't know why, but like Amburana has just like hit the market and everybody's doing it. And you got people that are doing it really well and people that are doing it really bad, but everybody's doing it. And it is one of the few things, just because of how powerful it is, you either like it or you hate it. And there is no in between. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. So maybe describe what Amburana is.
So it is a Brazilian wood that these distillers. So it first kind of hit the market with Starlight and their cigar release, and they got full barrels and finished the bourbon in it, and that gave it a huge apple cinnamon toast crunch cinnabon flavor. And then what people are now starting to do is kind of back off a little bit. And so because like same with like the Mizunara out of Japan, it's a harder wood to work with. They are now doing like staves and different things like that finished in a regular barrel. And they're even finding that just like a week of being with this wood imparts enough flavors. So everybody's playing with it, and you got some that are just like, it is Amburana flavors, and then a little hint of bourbon. And then you got other people doing the flip side, which is bourbon with a little bit of that flavor. So I guess we'll see what Barrell decided to do, which way.
I mean, I'm very intrigued because well, first off, Amburana it's new to the bourbon world, but it's not new to
Yes.
spirits or spirit aging. So in Brazil, they age, I think it's almost, well, it might be a rum or a brandy that they traditionally age in Amburana wood. 2 years ago, I think is when you sent, maybe it was, yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. You submitted the Starlight cigar, so the Amburana finished, for the best of whiskey, which I think it did quite well. I think it did top 5.
Yeah.
But at least my opinion has been on those. It's kind of interesting. I think the flavors that it gives you are incredibly unique. I think it can be, and maybe this is to kind of your point on some of those naysayers, it can be overdone. Like it can be a very strong flavor. And honestly, for one of those things, for me, it can be like, it's almost like an artificial sweetener taste.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it gives you those, like, it tastes like cinnamon roll. Like it gives you some really unique things that aren't present, and certainly not present in standard oak aging bourbon. So
yeah, and I remember getting Cinnabons at the mall, and this fatty loves them. So like it's right up my wheelhouse. I'm just
is this
saying.
a lower calorie? Is this better for you than a? I don't know.
Not as much sugar. So yes,
okay,
because sugar's the killer. That's what I've been told. But yeah, so what Barrell's done is, according to them, because once again, they sent it to us and they gave us a sweet little card, which like helps so much. So the blend components are a 5, 6, 7, and 10-year-old Indiana bourbon whiskeys. And then it's also got a 5-year-old Kentucky bourbon whiskey. And talking with them, how they did it is they were much more focused on the bourbon with a little bit of Amburana, and making it more bourbon centered. So they only did it in there for a little bit. And they even said that the ones that they finished in the barrel, they then blended back into some that were not finished. So they were very cognizant of the flavors being imparted very heavily, I think. So
yeah, trying to stay away from particularly those, which, I mean, it can be overdone on any finishing barrel, right? Like, it can be overdone on a toasted barrel. It can be overdone on port barrel.
Yeah, especially with these barrels that you don't know how much of the other spirit is still in the barrel when they dump it into the barrel. So
yeah, in this case, it's just coming from the wood. But yeah, so I appreciate the the premise. So let's see how they did.
So there's just a little hint of that cinnamon toast crunch.
But it dominates the nose. Like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It gives it away right away.
Yeah.
Like you're not deceived that this is a traditional bourbon. I was just saying, I get a little bit of that like artificial sweetener taste along with, or on the nose, along with that cinnamon, a little bit of wood.
Yeah. I will say there's some like oak wood notes coming through, which is kind of nice and balances that out.
It's like a dried wood, like a borderline wood / straw.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my gosh. That is all of the cinnamon and the sweetness without that artificial sweetener taste that I hate about some of those other Amburana finishes. Oh my God. And then it's just like lingering creamy vanilla on the back end. Like if that's not a cinnamon roll in a glass, I don't know what is.
Yeah, but it's so like I don't think you've had the RD1 yet. So we'll have to revisit that with this. So the RD1, I would say, is a cinnamon roll in a glass. This is like an oaky cinnamon roll. like the wood TJ, is very...
that's what I love. Like yeah, I know. It's like
but
when I never eat normal people don't eat cinnamon rolls with a block of oak, or bake them on like an oak plank, or
I mean,
what I do.
I mean, I think we might have a recipe now, which is cedar smoked cinnamon rolls on the Traeger. Like
on the Traeger,
see if that works. But yeah, I've never on one of these gotten such an oak presence, which is really nice. I think it balances everything out. That's probably what's taking away your artificial sweetener flavor and bringing in more of those traditional bourbon notes. Yes, it's still very like, really, I don't even know if it's like cinnamon. It's more cinnamon than it is like a cinnamon cinnabon type thing. There's not, like you said, there's not as much sugary notes on it, which is interesting.
I think this is very well balanced with the cinnamon, the oak. I think there's still plenty of sweetness there for me, which I don't. I'm happy to. I drink coffee and bitter beers, and so I live in the bitter world, so I don't. A little bit of sweetness goes a long way with me. But I think this is really well balanced, and they took that Amburana in like. There might be maybe the one knock is it's prevalent on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit too much there for me. But it's one of those things. Like if you could sit back in a lab, and you could dial it as you want, I would dial down the nose a bit. But obviously, in reality, like you're dealing with a complex liquid, lots of compounds that go into this, and you can't really quite do that. So this is, to me, very well done from start to finish. I think it gives you a lot of bourbon, but it really lets you taste the Amburana. Like this is not like this is an Amburana finish. Like you're not going to be wondering that, but it's well balanced where it's just not. It didn't overpower the bourbon, which is what Barrell. It's what Barrell does so well across all their offerings, right? Like they let the whiskey speak.
Yeah.
And then they use these other, whether it's a finishing barrel or blends, to augment the taste profiles of what they're looking for. And honestly, I think this is a big hitter, and I think you should send it for the best of whiskey 2023.
Oh wow, we were shots fired. I like it. Yeah, I think this is the first one that's not a dessert bourbon for me. Like I could drink this multiple times. I could put this in a cocktail and not worry about it over sweetening the cocktail. I'm going to get mainly cinnamon and oaky notes with bourbon, rye, spice, and all of that. Yes, the Amburana is still front and center, but it's not in your face front and center. It's like you said, it's adding to the bourbon. It's not overpowering and taking the front note. So yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think people that are like anti-Amburana, this might be the one that you let them try, and suddenly they become a little bit more of a fan of it. I've been a big fan of the RD1, but it is all sugary sweet. This fat man's got to have his sugar. This one is much more like the low calorie version. And so, yeah.
This is much more of the whiskey, the bourbon drinkers version.
Yes,
that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to hide, of course, two things. One, I need to go buy a bottle. Two, I need to hide what little sample I do have from my wife, because if you say cinnamon, I'm surprised she's not already running. And maybe she is, because she was at dinner somewhere else, so she could be running literally right now, and she doesn't even run. So, if it storms in and just you see the whirlwind, that's what it is. So because I think she'll want to put this in every single cocktail that she makes from here on out. And I'm gonna have to fight her and say, no, this is a neat pour only.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. So,
and she'll win. So
always, without a doubt. So there you go. I don't know. Are you pro Amburana, anti Amburana? I'm going to just keep saying it different ways every time because it's fun.
One time
we're taking
right.
we're taking people off with our review anyway. Let us know. We know it's super divisive, everything like that, but if you like it, or if you haven't been a fan, I would highly recommend trying the barrel version of it. You might finally enjoy it. And if nothing else, if you love cinnamon, I mean, this is going to be your jam. So,
yeah, not like red hot cinnamon, like real cinnamon.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, there you go. Cheers. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. Stay neat.